Coach, your group's coming off two very impressive wins. As you look back at the kind of momentum created by that stretch, what do you like about what your team's doing well?
You know, just talking to the guys this morning, it's really been that we're sticking to the process of what we want to do in each game. You know, it's obviously not going to be perfect in those games, but you have two different opponents, two different style of plays, but we're able to do the things that we know are leading to our success in a lot of ways.
What opportunity is this week? You know, obviously you take one game at a time, but 3 at home this week after being on the road through Thanksgiving.
No, I think it's great that we're home in front of our fans. You know, we talk about the energy that they provide, the support that they give us. I think it's just going to be so good for this group to be back home, develop a routine, the game every other day. I think that helps out a ton.
The last two games specifically were strong on the defensive end as much as anything else. You know, you guys know you're a good defensive team, but how have you seen the kind of mentality you want and the physicality that you want grow over the last 10, 12 games or so?
Well, you just said it. You know, our ability to be physical. Now, we still got to continue to do a better job of defending without fouling. But our guys are recognizing the spots on the floor, understanding personnel, where to be, following the game plan. And I think the more we can do that, the better we'll continue to be.
We're nearing like the quarter mark of the season. I don't know how you divide the season up to kind of see where you're at, but how have you liked how this team has grown and kind of stuck to that process over the course of these 20 games?
Well, and we'll use the word a lot, you know, that process of what we're trying to accomplish both offensively and defensively. We break it down into a 5-game series each time, and this being the first game of the next 5. But our guys' ability to just understand what we're asking them to do, both sides of the ball. Can we take care of it? Can we crash the glass? Can we get out in the open court and run after we've gotten our stops? Can we be efficient in converting on the other end? I think those are very important keys for our guys. So we've continued to grow in that area, but there's still a lot of room to go from there.
Paolo's out again tonight. How is he doing? What was he able to do this morning?
You know, Paulo's still doing a lot of doing non-contact things, and we just continue to see and monitor how he responds to each treatment each day.
How close is he to be able to doing contact? Like, is that something that could happen this week potentially?
Again, it goes off how he responds to what he's been doing for the past couple days. You know, obviously travel has been a part of things, so it's hard to get a gauge on it. But us being back home this week is so important, you know, just for that, to be able to be in this gym, this facility, to get the proper, you know, recovery things that he needs and we need.
How are his spirits? Just, I know it's different than last year, but kind of maybe he could feel, here we go again.
Yeah, I don't know if it's necessarily here we go again, but it's more along the lines of just continuing to know that there's a process that he's following to get himself back on the court. And his spirits have been great. Him being on the bench, communicating with guys, talking to the coaches about what he sees. The game slows down just that much more for him as well, as he's watching it as a coach for these moments. But again, just continue to put the work in to get back on the court.
The Chicago team tonight, where does it start? What's so important for your group against them?
Transition defense. I believe they're number 2 in pace in the league. So our ability to, one, take the right shot so we can make sure we're getting back and, you know, controlling the way that we can get them into the half court. But we got to make sure we're, you know, crashing the glass the right way, defending without fouling. Kobe White, you know, has been in some games, out some games, but him being back, we know what he did to us last time he was here. But our ability to get back in transition and make them have to play a half-court game is going to be key for us.
Maybe a little bit more about the pace than maybe you'd like or you'd think. But how do you feel like the team's kind of found its rhythm or its tempo, or however you want to describe it, to playing and finding the right kind of balance?
Well, great word, balance. I think what we've talked about from training camp and on has been, how do we do that by getting stops? How do we run with efficiency? How do we convert on the other end after getting the stops? And I think we've done a very good job of finding that balance, not to get out and just play back and forth rat basketball, but our ability to get stops and then be efficient on the other end by converting. Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Happy belated.
Happy belated.
Tristan, you look at the last 2 games. Those were 2 big games for you guys. You came out with victories in both. What do you like about the way your team handled that type of stage and came away with 2 wins in those?
Yeah, I mean, great team wins. I feel like you know, we kind of been on a roll these last couple games and kind of figured out ways to have multiple guys show up and everybody be impactful. I feel like that's kind of like the identity that we want to have and we have to have. Is, you know, getting stops and going out running, letting the ball pop, and making decisions from there.
The team got off. The team knew it has this defensive identity, but it took maybe a little while to kind of find it. What's been working defensively over the last 10, 11 games to really kind of help you guys find that groove on that end again?
Yeah, I mean, I think part of it is just buying into it, trusting it, and not giving up on it after the first couple weeks of the season, and then seeing that it pays off. Kind of having everybody pulling on the same string. I think a lot of that is just communication and being on the same page, and making sure that we know what we're doing out there. And I feel like everybody's been doing a great job of that.
What strides has Jet made on that defensive end of the floor?
Yeah, for sure. It's great to see him out there hoop. Obviously, the 30-point game that he had, that's kind of the standout that he had. But I think he's been doing really well out there and making strides as a player overall.
We heard you guys talk a lot during the preseason about trying to play with pace and play faster. How have you guys kind of find the right balance between making sure you get out in transition, playing faster, but also kind of controlling the tempo and making sure it doesn't get too far out of control?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's part of what we had to figure out. That's what kind of rattled us in the beginning, I think. Not being under control and just trying to play as fast as possible, and you can't really play like that if you're not under control. So it comes with a big deal of responsibility, being able to play fast and having the freedom to play fast. So we just had to take our time a little bit to figure that out.
A team like the Bulls, they also like to get up and down. I think they're second in the league in number of possessions. What's the challenge of playing a team like that and trying to control it, and play your game and play your tempo, but control them a little bit?
Yeah, more of the same thing. Being able that we control the pace and not let them dictate how fast we play. Slowing it down on defense, slowing them down, and then offensively still getting out and running. I feel like whoever team kind of controls the pace more tonight is going to be, getting easier looks and kind of finding their groove early on.
Thanks, Tristan.
Appreciate it.
Wendell, your group probably faced two of its biggest games of the regular season, came out with two big wins over the last two. What did you like about the way your group has played over the last couple games?
We just established our identity on the defensive end. I think that was something that we was missing to start the year, just kind of getting a feel for one another. And then offensively, we just starting to click. When we added guys like Dez and Matthias, it was only a matter of time before they started to get into their groove. So, I think we're in a good spot, but, we're definitely not satisfied. We're only, 20 games into the season, so we got a lot more ways to go to continue to grow, and I think we're going to do just that.
We saw what happened in Philly on the court, and then at the end of the game in Detroit. Can you guys sense when you guys are being annoying and disruptive to other teams, and how does that maybe feed the fire?
We're competitors, including Philly, Detroit. This league is full of talented competitors. Emotions get involved sometimes, which is the beauty of this game. Those are two talented teams, so for us to go out there and just compete on the highest level every night, it's just something that we dreamed of since we were kids. So, it gets frustrating for sure. From my standpoint, from our team against other teams, when defense is a part of your identity, physicality, it gets frustrating. But that's the beauty of this game.
You went a little viral for the response when Andre tried to start something there. What was going through your mind when it? I mean, it looked like he was trying to square up a little bit, but what was going through your mind there?
Honestly, I don't even know. I don't really remember. Drummond, that's my guy. I got a pretty good relationship with him, so. I don't know. Like I said before, just emotions was probably running high. It was just one of those games, and I kind of understood where he was coming from for sure. But at the end of the day, that's my guy. It's no bad blood at all. When I see him, it's still all love.
You guys knew you were going to kind of find your way defensively. That's this team identity. But how have you liked how this team has kind of grown into the season and kind of found your path or your process on defense this year?
It's different. Last year was a different team in its own way. We have different players this year, so it took us a minute to kind of fall into, what we're going to rely on the defensive end and what we're going to be willing to give up. But we figured it out. It was only a matter of time. From the outside looking in, it was felt like the sky was falling in. But us being in this building every day, being around each other every day, we understood that it was just a matter of time for everything started clicking. And now it's starting to click.
How have you guys worked to keep Powell involved at this point right now?
It's not really hard for us. He's one of those guys. He wants to be involved, even though he's not playing. He's in every practice. He's talking, giving his 2 cents. Been doing a great job during games. When he's seeing different coverages. Helping us. Being able to read the game a little bit more because he's usually the one out there with us. So, it's not really hard for us. He's one of those guys. When he comes back, he wants to just continue to help this team win. So he's just trying to make sure we all stand on the straight and narrow of just continuing to win games. So when he gets back, it's an easy way for him to just come in and just join the team.
As you look at the Chicago team, where does it start? What are some of the keys for your group going up against them?
First is to limit them in transition. They get out and run. They're a very fast-paced team. Makes or misses, they're getting it out quick. For us offensively, I think we have to live in the paint a little bit, get into the paint as much as possible, but understanding they're going to shrink the floor. So, when we get our open shots, kick out shots, we got to take them, make or miss. The process has to be over the results tonight, and then, that's really about it. Yeah, and then limit Josh Giddey. Josh Giddey's playing at an all-time high right now, so, it has to be a little bit of attention and focus to him and Kobe White also.
We've made maybe a little bit more out of the pace and kind of the way that you guys have kind of started trying to play faster. But how do you feel like this team's kind of found the right tempo or the right balance between getting out and running and kind of slowing things down and controlling how fast both teams are playing?
That's also, it was one of those field things. We came into the year like, hey, we're going to play fast, and we started playing a little too fast in my opinion. In moments where we didn't really have an advantage, trying to make something out of nothing. But now we've kind of found the sweet spot of, knowing when to run, when not to run, when to get a good shot, understanding the momentum of the game, understanding that maybe we need to take a little bit of time off the clock to make sure we get a good shot. So, we found that sense of, whether to run or to take our time on the offensive end. But, I think there's definitely more room for us to grow in that aspect.
Yeah, thanks, Silva.
Appreciate it.